Parrish Show. We're here on 92.9 FM ESPN. Dan Wolken from USA Today is going to join me at 4:40. Jeff Calkins from the Commercial Appeal. He's at 5 o'clock. But right now, Steve Fisher is a national championship winning coach who spent the past 14 seasons building San Diego State into a nationally relevant basketball program that's put Kawhi Leonard and Malcolm Thomas into the NBA. The newest Aztec to make the jump, that's Jamaal Franklin, drafted 41st last night by the Memphis Grizzlies. Steve Fisher knows him better than anybody. We have the San Diego State coach on the VO2 Network's hotline. Let's talk to him right now. Coach Fisher, it's Gary Parrish. How you doing?
Hi, Gary. I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well, man. It's getting ready for the July recruiting circuit, so I guess we'll be bumping into each other on the road here in a couple of weeks.
I hope so. I know we're like you. We are. We're getting our schedules aligned and deciding who's going to go where, and we've got a team camp going on right now at our place, so you might hear people yelling and balls bouncing as I'm walking from one place to another.
It's a familiar sound this time of the year. Well, listen, what we want to talk to you about here in Memphis is Jamaal Franklin. He was projected by some to go in the top 20. In fact, the Grizzlies said last night they had him in their top 20. They never thought he'd be available at 41. Why do you think he fell to 41? Was it because of the ankle injury, or do you think it was something else?
Gary, I have no idea.
Right.
You know, sometimes you get a buzz one way or another, and whether it's true to form, nobody knows. We did our due diligence before the draft with the committee of NBA people, 18 and 19, from assistant coaches to GMs to scouts. And Jamaal was projected to be a fringe first-round draft pick initially. And then as it went on, everybody said, well, he's going to be a top 20 pick or a top 25 pick, essentially be first round. And who knows why things happen. But the key thing is make good on what happens. And I think that Jamaal has that mentality. I know he will be someone that the fans will love to see with his competitive nature and how hard he competes. And he'll fit into the grind mode that they talked about having in that organization.
I'm talking to Steve Fisher, San Diego State coach on the VO2 Network's hotline. Of course, Coach Jamaal Franklin the past 3 years out at Sdsu. The Grizzlies have already compared Jamaal to a young Tony Allen. Is that fair? Do you see him as that kind of defensive-minded, intense basketball player?
I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know. I watched Tony play, watched mainly as you played in the playoffs this year. I do know Jamaal, and he is immensely competitive at both ends of the floor. And he's a guy that he'll do what's necessary, as his stats would ally. Sometimes he tries to do a little bit too much, but I think you can rein that in. But you're not going to get a guy that'll take a play off. You're not going to get a guy that will not give you every ounce that he's got. And he's someone, if you say, guard this guy and don't let him do this, he'll do everything he can to do just that.
It is his greatest attribute, the fact that he's just intense and he's competitive. And, you know, I know that one of the things this front office values is guards who rebound the ball, because it translates well into what they think works at the NBA level. It shows some of the things that they value. Is Jamaal's greatest attribute as a basketball player just the way he competes and the way he gets after it all the time?
I think that would be one thing that you would say he separates himself with. He's a very, very good athlete. He was a 7-foot high jumper in high school. He was an all-state wide receiver. He's got toughness about him. And his skill level as a basketball player continues to grow. He was not a very good shooter when he came in. And unlike even his stats would show, his stats don't show that he can shoot the ball, but he can shoot the ball. He's a winner. He's not afraid to make and take important shots and big shots. And he's a really, really good teammate. So I think that, you know, he's just a guy that when people have said, oh, he's not this, he's not that, he's just filed that in his memory bank and has proven so many people wrong with what he can do.
I'm talking to Steve Fisher here, San Diego State coach on the VO2 Network's hotline. You said something that was interesting there, that his stats don't show he's a good shooter, but he can shoot the ball. The stats, of course, are undeniable on some level, 33%, then 28% in 3 years from three-point range. Is that maybe a byproduct of shot selection more so than shooting ability?
I think to some degree, Gary. I mean, if you had watched and seen the way he shot the ball when he came in as a freshman, you would say he'll never be able to shoot it. Right. And he changed his shot to where mechanics of his shot now are good. He just now needs repetition and confidence. But he probably took some shots that, you take away a shot and a half a game, and now those stats look a little bit better. So he at times took shots that you would say when they go in, boy, great shot. When they don't go in, you say, why did he take them?
Right. I understand that. I know a lot of players like that. Talking to Steve Fisher here, the San Diego State coach. What was it like to coach him? What was it? Because I know he's an intense guy. Like, he picks up technical fouls. He's had some moments where I think he famously had an incident with a fan. What was it like to try to, on one hand, as a coach, you love players to have that type of intensity. On another hand, you have to rein it in a little bit at times. What was it like to be his coach for 3 years?
I think I'm going to get off track a little bit, but for those of us who have sons and daughters of our own that go away to college, it's a time when they grow and expand and learn in so many different areas. And most of the time our kids learn mistakes that they correct and move forward on or better because of it when nobody sees them and nobody reports on them. And when you're in our world, the whole world's watching. But if you look at Jamaal, at the way he handled himself at the beginning of his career and even at the beginning of this year and the end of the season, you say, here's a guy that is a model of how you would want to do it. Hey, I picked up too many technicals. I took him out when he got a technical. But if you look at the last half of his junior year, I don't think he got a technical. At the end of the game that we lost against Florida Gulf Coast,
I was there.
Jamaal waited until they celebrated, went over and congratulated their team and their coaches. That was a high, intense game where there was a lot of back and forth stuff, I got 5 or 6 letters from people that watched the incident and complimenting him on how he handled himself, and it set an example for all that play. So I think so often we're quick to point out all the negatives, whether it's shooting percentage or character, that the people that know him could point out many more of the things that I've just talked about right now on a positive side.
No, I was in Philadelphia for that game, and I remember at the buzzer watching him, and I can see him right now if I close my eyes, standing in the far corner watching, just with a blank look on his face, like watching Florida Gulf Coast celebrate this monumental moment in their school's history, and then waiting for them to calm down and get ready to go off the court, and then go by and congratulating everybody. And that stood out to me. I can even remember tweeting about it at the time, like it was a really classy move by him. And I guess that's one that hasn't been talked about nearly as much as the other stuff. But it was a moment that has that registered with me as well. I'm talking to Steve Fisher here, the San Diego State coach on the VO2 Network sideline. Steve, before I let you go, I want to talk to you a little bit about your most high-profile former player now, Kawhi Leonard, who has developed into a star for the San Antonio Spurs. It must make you proud to see what he's become.
Without a shadow of a doubt, we're very proud of what Kawhi has done. The way he's done it is been a great positive for not only himself but for San Diego State. And initially, Charles Barkley, who's a good friend of mine, he had no idea how to pronounce his name, and then now he's a household name.
Right.
It happens when you have success. It happens when you're on a team that's as good as the Spurs were. And every time they said Kawhi Leonard, invariably they would say from San Diego State. And it helps everybody. It makes everybody from around here feel immensely proud and involved, and to be honest, fans of the Spurs. Just like we're going to be fans of the Grizzlies now with Jamaal there.
That's terrific to hear. That's Steve Fisher, the San Diego State coach on the VO2 Network sideline. Steve, it's awesome to talk to you. I know you've been busy today. I appreciate you carving out a few minutes for me, and I'll see you on the road in a couple of weeks.
Okay, holler at me when you see me on the road. Maybe we can have a cup of coffee or something.
I look forward to it. I'll see you soon, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Steve Fisher, head coach, San Diego State. It gets lost a little bit what he's done at San Diego State. Like, I think it was last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
First time they've ever been ranked in the top 25. I mean, this is not a historically great basketball program. I went there for a game when the Jimmer craze was going on. And that arena, that student section.
The vibe's pretty cool, right?
It is off the charts.
Yeah.
Like, it was a hell of an experience. And, like, he's taken that program. You know, like, usually when what happens to you when what happened to him happens to you at Michigan, like, you don't really recover from that. And yet he's developed a nationally relevant basketball program at San Diego State. And I'm glad he brought up that Jamaal Franklin moment because I was there in the building. I remember. You can go back to my Twitter feed if you want to waste your time doing that and find the tweets from that night when Florida Gulf Coast beat San Diego State. I think I used the word classy. It seemed like a classy moment. This kid's college career was, I think we knew at the time, probably over.
Yeah.
We knew he was entering the draft. And he stood there and waited for them patiently to finish celebrating so that he could walk over, shake their hands, and congratulate them. I remember that moment. I'm glad Steve Fisher reminded me of it. Dan Wilkins up next from USA Today.